Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another preview, just a Q&A show this time. I am your host, Temi, aka Temi Talks United, and I have an amazing squad with me tonight. Everyone make sure to hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, and join the movement that is all for United, you feel me? I have Stu with me, I have Sems with me, I have a great guest as well with me who's on here for the first time, Nuruddin, and we're going to get right into it. Guys, I'm wearing the Nigeria shirt. International break, you feel me? I had to rep my squad as always. You know what I'm saying? I had to rep the squad. You know, everyone, make sure to drop your questions in to the live chat right now. We already have so many great questions from Twitter. When you do ask a question, make sure to put Q&A in the front, and we're gonna make sure to get to as many questions as we possibly can in this next hour. I cannot wait for this. I love the Q&A, man. It's always a good time. I already see Jamie's in the building, man. Good evening, bro. Stu, of course. I wonder who that guy is. Fred's in the comments, man. Stuart's in the comments. Everyone, make sure to drop your questions into the live chat. If you're here with us on Facebook, make sure to go to youtube.com/all4united. If you're on Twitter with it, go to youtube.com/all4united. Hit that like button. We want to get to 25 to 30 likes before the end of the stream. I'm going to ask the first question. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to ask the first question to the squad. Obviously, we've been in a tough. We just, we fell out in the FA Cup quarterfinal with Leicester. Very disappointing. Very tough way to go into the international break. So I'm going to ask the gang. I don't know if any of you guys in the live chat watch Solskjaer press conferences, but those journalists ask the dumbest questions in history. Like in history, I hate watching press conferences mainly because they ask him just lay up soft questions. So I'm going to ask the gang right now. If they could ask one question to Ollie in a press conference, what would they ask him? And I'm going to start with Stu. Bro, if you could ask Ole Gunnar Solskjaer one question in a press conference, what would it be, bro?
Yeah, it's a really good question to start. I have a bit of experience in press conferences because in my day job, I interview World Superbike and MotoGP riders. And I've been lucky enough to interview a few footballers as well. And I always think, as a fan, when you're when you're watching any of these press conferences, the journalists tend to ask safe questions, and it's either about players or it's about what to expect from the opposition. But what I would ask Ollie, and I would go out on a limb, and I would like to know where he sees the biggest weakness in our current squad is, and what that weakness is, and how he's trying to eradicate that weakness. I'll put him right on the spot. He wouldn't be able to give me an answer. I'd get a textbook kind of managerial answer back, and he'd probably throw it back at me. But that's what I would like to know is what is the biggest weakness he sees in our current squad and what he's doing to eradicate that weakness.
That is a great question. And I wonder what he would say to that. I know what I say. I would say, McTominay, you cannot be starting for us next season. That's what I would. If I was posed that question, I'd say, brothers, you cannot be starting for us next season. 100%. Jamie says, I'd ask Ollie, why isn't your in-game management up to scratch? Ooh, shots fired. Jacob says, I would ask Ollie if he's satisfied with the board just to ruffle a few feathers. Very fascinating. I'm gonna go to Semps too, bro. What would you ask Ollie? Honestly, where do you think you would go with that question?
Well, I think I'll be quite direct in trying to find out what our ambition is for next season, because going off of what he said about trophies the other day, I would like to really understand from him what our ambition is under his tenure. So next season, providing we now finish inside the top 4 for 2 consecutive seasons, what are your goals for next season? Is it now to challenge and start to really challenge for the title, or is it again another top 4 finish? And just try to understand where his mind's at and where the board's mind's at, because obviously, we'll see in the summer whether we get backed with signings and stuff like that. So it's really just to understand where the club is going and just try to put him on the spot and be quite direct in what are your ambitions for next season.
That's a great question. And I think obviously, these managers, they get coached before before they go into the press conference. I don't. You remember? Did you guys ever watch All or Nothing? I remember that with Spurs, and there was a scene where they're all sitting in the calf or whatever, and Daniel Levy's giving Mourinho like, okay, this is what they're gonna ask you. This is what they're gonna ask you. Make sure you say this, and this. And I'm just like, it's just a script. It's just it's sad. It's an absolute script when it comes to these press conferences. I'm gonna go to Nuruddin too, bro. What would you ask Ollie in that situation?
I was quite astonished actually a month ago when I heard that he doesn't do the coaching, because I believe that the difference between the teams yesterday was a team that's well coached and a team that's not well coached. So my question to him would be direct to say, why have you stopped doing the coaching, knowing that you're modeling yourself on Fergie, and Fergie didn't stop the coaching till about 8 or maybe 7 or 8 years in, and you're only 2.5 years in. So why have you stopped doing the coaching? Because when somebody says to me, you're not doing the coaching, then what are you doing? And we can see our team already. We don't have a style of play. There's no rhythm or patterns. We make basic mistakes in games. Very basic mistakes in games. And there's no leadership, there's no accountability. And to me, I'm somebody who defended Ollie for a long, long time around the YouTube and on Twitter and stuff. And I can't defend him anymore. I generally can't defend, because as soon as he said he doesn't do the coaching, then to me, that is red flags. So why has he stopped doing the coaching? Because when I watched his team in Norway, in Molde, they play 4-3-3. They play similar style to Liverpool in terms of 3 aggressive midfielders and hunting the ball and pressing up the pitch. That was his team. But since the 6-1 against Tottenham, he's gone back to Jose Mourinho tactics. And I can't take that anymore. I can't get behind that anymore.
But when he first came in, he said that he wanted to play that pressing football. That exactly what he did there. But we've never really seen that since he's come. Apart from when we first came and we was playing 4-3-3, we've not seen that pressing football.
Yeah.
And at the moment, when you watch us, Bruno Fernandes is one, he starts pressing, but there's nobody behind him. He's by himself all of the time. And we look really disjointed, and it's really, really weird. It's really amateurish. And like what he just said, we're making basic mistakes on a regular basis.
Yeah, no, that's a great call. I remember his first preseason tour when we faced, I think it was Inter Milan, and I can't remember who the other teams we faced. I visibly remember, us pressing in that preseason tour. Even with the 4-2-3-1, it was aggressive. Remember that 4-0 against Chelsea, even though place we were pressing, it was aggressive. Wolves the next game, and then it just gradually seemed, as the results started going against us, he got more and more. It felt pragmatic about it, and I don't know. I don't know if it's just it's not what he wants to do going forward or what it is, but that's a great question. I don't know what you think.
I mean, it's player discipline. The thing is, to play a pressing game, you've got to have a desire. As a footballer, you've got to have a desire. You've got to take that pitch and you've got to run and work for 90 minutes. And unfortunately, we don't have that desire. We've got into this pattern of lazy play. And when you play with, and I don't like the term pivot, as you well know, when you play with 2 similar deep-lying midfielders, you can't press anyway because you're taking one creative player out of the equation. We've got pace up there, but we don't hunt the fullbacks. A lot of fans think that we're crying out for a right winger, but we don't play with conventional wingers. We haven't played with conventional wingers since Kanchelskis, since Fergie's a 4-4-2. Where Ollie's problem is, he doesn't have the foresight on occasions when we do need to go back to basics, as Nuruddin said, is sometimes you have to go into a basic 4-4-2 shell and structure to kind of get yourself back into a game of football. Now, it sounds a bit strange because the modern day footballer and the modern day coaches, they're all FIFA addicts. It's got to be a CDM, it's got to be RW, etc., etc. But you have to bear something in mind. Football teams are allowed 11 players per side, and it doesn't matter throughout the game because the game evolves on how you set yourselves up and how you finish the game because it has to be fluid. And the reason we're not pressing us at the minute is the same reason we're not attacking, our flankers aren't attacking the 18-yard box on the diagonal, which they, when Rashford and Martial and Greenwood were in their prime last season, they were attacking the diagonal. And that's when we were winning penalties because we were attacking the area.
Yeah. These are all great.
Around it.
These are all
there
great.
are ways around it, but I'll let the rest of the lads talk. But that's my viewpoint on it. I think Nuruddin's right.
That's a fair point. Fair point. Let's get in the comments real quick. I see a lot of interesting questions that people would ask Ollie. Another one I'd love to ask Ollie which current manager he admires the most. That's a really good question. Pep always talks about the likes of Bielsa and stuff like that. Interesting to see who Ollie looks up to. I'd ask, considering that you're considered one of the most famous super subs, why do you not make use of your That's a funny one. That's Fred. Yeah. That's a funny one. And Fred, your question is coming up right next, so stay with us, bro. I screenshotted your question that you dropped on Twitter. Really good question. Stuart says, I'd like to ask Ollie which player that LVG or Jose sold he would like in his squad right now. That's a fascinating one. Oh my goodness, very fascinating.
There's two standout ones for me on that one. So if we do ask that one later on, there's two standout ones.
Yeah, I would. There's a couple that we can go back. We can come back to that and make that a question ourselves. But
Danny Blind, one of them.
Yeah,
that's exactly me.
That's literally who was in my head right now.
Blind and Herrera. Those are the two. Blind and Herrera.
So for Fred asked a good question on Twitter, and everyone who is watching with us right now, make sure to drop your questions into the live chat. Put Q&A in front of that question for me, you feel me? And then we'll go from there. Everyone, I see Ugly Bear, you're in here. John Kermode, you're in here. Jacob, drop a question for me. Jamie Gretton, drop a question for us. You know what I'm saying? And get right in the comments. Let's keep this thing going. The second question I have from Fred Woodward, shout out to you, bro. Q&A, is finishing second, top four alone good enough? Or do we also need to win the Europa League for this season to be considered a success? I'll start with Sims on this one, and we'll go around the whole. We'll do it backwards this time. You feel me?
Timmy, that cut out, so I didn't hear you. It cut out.
You missed that. Okay, my bad, guys. I'll say it again. Is finishing second or top four alone good enough, or do we also need to win the Europa League this season to be considered a success? Thoughts on that, bro?
I will say that no, we need to win a trophy this season. We need to win a trophy. I don't think second alone is good enough because, there's been other people made a great point, and I've said this before as well. Second wasn't good enough under Jose. We finished miles and miles off of the title of City that year, and we're going to do the same again this year. So I don't think second is good enough because, again, when you look at the standard of the Premier League this season, yes, you can only beat what's in front of you. And, we're more or less the best of the rest. But we're still not progressing in terms of our quality of football, us being able to control a football match, us being able to create chances. There's still so many things that we're not doing right. And to really see progression, I think that we need to see a trophy. We've not won a trophy now. What is it, for 4 years since Jose won it? So yeah, for me, being second alone doesn't fill me with any great confidence that we're going to really kick on next season. To be honest with you, even winning the Europa League doesn't necessarily say that we're gonna kick on and we're gonna progress next season either. But at least winning that trophy, we get back into the Champions League via the league, and then we might then be able to start kicking on with trying to get transfers in the summer as well and trying to improve the squad.
Interesting. Very, 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 very interesting point, bro. Nuruddin, bro, what would you say to that? Oh, you're on mute, buddy.
To me, it's about the style of football. Sorry, guys. It's about the style of football. That's the most important. I looked at comparison to Liverpool 4 years ago, 5 years ago. You could see that club team is going places, even though they were getting to finals and they were losing, and they were losing to teams from the bottom of the league. But you could see what he was trying to do. And since Fergie left, there's not one manager other than maybe LVG. Where you could say, I could understand what he's trying to do. LVG mainly because the lack of quality. They gave him first choice players. So usually it would be like 4 players. He would ask for 1 player, and then they would give the 4th choice. So they'd be like, what about the 2nd choice? No, we can't get the 2nd choice. We can't get you the 3rd choice. We can get the 4th choice. So they would always bring him the fourth choice player on the list of players he's asked them. And that's what undid him at the end. And obviously, the whole bandwagon, and obviously Ed Woodward and the rest of them who don't know anything about football, saw Jose Mourinho as this new shiny toy. And they thought, oh, we'll get that. We'll bring more hype, more social media, because that's what they're interested in. 3 bankers who run our club. It's Richard Arnold, Matt Judge, and Ed Woodward. And they all went to Bristol University. So it's weird. Bristol University runs one of the greatest sport institutions in the world, in world sport. You can't make that up. You can't make that up because the Glazers, unfortunately, don't know anything about football. Those 3 guys are running stuff. So the fact that I never divorce Ollie and Ollie's job and what Ollie's doing from the people that have the power in our club to actually do to make action or to dictate what goes on in our club. I never divorced her from them. And it's difficult for a lot of young fans when I'm on other channels and stuff to divorce it. They're like, it's nothing to do with the structure, nothing to do that. That's what my name is, Mr. Structure, because for the past 7 to 8 years, I've been banging on about structure. Man United needing to have a modern structure. And that because Fergie did everything, Fergie was the structure. We no longer have Fergie, and we've ricocheted from bad decision to a bad decision to another bad decision. And I think with Ollie, at this moment in time, I would be behind him even if we didn't win anything, even if we didn't finish in the top 4, if we finished 8th or 9th. I would give him that if I could see a pattern of play, if I could see what he was doing. I would take all that. I would take that pain, short-term pain, because I took it for 7 years. I would take more of that pain if I could see a plan, if I could see something that's telling me, you know what, when he gets the players in the right positions and he's doing the coaching and I could see it because we watch football. I've watched football for 3 decades. You know, most of us we spent, if anybody can tell me, I've never spent more hours on anything else in my life than watching football. I love film, I love cinema, but I've watched and watched and watched football till, you know what I mean? And I'm addicted to it. So we can all see there isn't anything. He's not showing us anything. For the first 3 months when he got the job, he played 4-3-3. He showed us something. After Jose all sent us down in a dark hole. You know, we all appeared from that cave. We appeared from that cave, and you know, we could see the clouds, we could see the blue skies.
Even the players saw it.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I mean, I don't see that, and like I said, it's hard for me to defend Ollie anymore when he doesn't do the coaching, because at this level, a level of football, you need players. You need a coach who's doing the coaching, who can then come on the touchline and grab the players and so. What are you doing? Do what I told you to do in training or what I went through with you in the video. Do the same thing. If you're not, you're coming off. That doesn't happen. Pep Guardiola does that. Jurgen Klopp does that. You can tell that's why they scream. That's why they're so intense on the touchline. Now, I'm not asking Ollie to change his character because he's quite chill character. I'm not asking that because it takes all sorts of managers, all sorts of different characteristics and personalities. But that's what I see. And I would swallow all of it up. No success, finishing 8th and 9th if I could see a plan and if I could see a way of playing.
Yeah, Stu, what do you think? What do you think about that? Is great points, Nuruddin. What do you think? Second place in the Europa League, is that progress for us?
Not really. Any football player, football manager, football club that finishes anything below top is deemed a failure because you set out from the season at the get-go to win the championship. That's what you do. And you all come together as a collective and a group and you plot your way and you work your way to winning games of football. And to be champions, you have to be hard to beat. And unfortunately, although we have been hard to beat recently, we're not setting the world alight moving forward. And so, yeah, winning the Europa League would be great, but it's not real progression. Real progression is winning the title. However, it's what the club think, unfortunately, and Nuruddin's right, because the club feel that finishing in the top 4 and maybe getting to a semi-final or a final is progress. But it's too slow. The progress is too slow. And if you don't have that attitude, that real killer attitude to win football matches, we're not going to see a progression. And that's the real problem for us at the minute. There's no killers in our side. And if you take yesterday's game, certainly the second goal, there's absolutely no way that Tielemans should have run as far as he did. Fred should have taken a booking, plain and simple. And then we would have taken our chances with a free kick. And we also know what happened with Scott McTominay. So until we build a squad and a first 11 that has got 8 or 9, and I've said it before, Temi, as you well know, bad winners, really bad winners in our first 11, we're not going to progress to that top step, which is where every football team should want to achieve to be.
Yeah.
And so it's a great question by Fred. And there's a load of debate around it because I know all four of us will see it differently anyway, because we're football fans. We love the club and we love football, but we'll all see it differently. But for me, at the start of a season, you've got to be finishing champions.
Yeah, no, that's all of you made fair points, and it's so hard to, if I'm looking at last season, I'm just face value. If we look at what last season was versus this season, I do think we've improved, because if you look at what last season was, it was for excuse my language, it was a shit show. Last season, the football we played was absolutely diabolical. This season, I think there's been some strides, and I do think Ollie is improving as a manager. But at the same time, is the football good? Like, to Nurdine's point, is the football good? Are we entertained often enough? As Manchester United fans, our culture, the fans' culture, is entertaining football at its core. If you go back and watch the 1968 European Cup final, it's on MUTV. It's entertaining. No exaggeration. It's very entertaining to watch, and it's not even an exaggeration. And we've kind of fallen. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I think we've been the same this season as we were last season, because last season we started off, good, and then it got rocky, and then after Christmas it went good. So we have these periods, and then right towards the end it got sticky again, and we've seen the same this season. We've been up and down in moments. We've shown a string of games where we can be electrifying. Do you know what I'm saying? Like in November, when we all thought he was going to get sacked, and then you have those Champions League games, and then you go to Everton and you turn it on. And then the Christmas period as well, we didn't play scintillating, but we got results. And then we're seeing results like what we're seeing more recently. So I do think that for me personally, and I agree with what Nuruddin and what Stu was saying, is I don't necessarily think that we're making progress. I was just answering the question as which one would be better. But yeah, I think that we've been the same this season as we were last season, to be honest.
Yeah. No, and I take that. I'm not saying it's drastic. You know what I'm saying? I just think there's been slight improvements. Is that improvement good enough to say, we're turning a corner? No, I don't think that at all. But I just think there's been slight little things you can maybe pick and choose at and say, okay, we're a little better here, we're a little better there. Let's get right into the questions. There's so many good comments I'm seeing in the live chat, and I'm gonna ask this question. Let's be a little quicker, because man, we already 25 minutes in. We've asked a few questions. So let's keep it going with the questions. Akeem D says, and I'll go back and forth between Twitter and the fan questions in the live chat. So guys, keep your questions coming. We're gonna do our best to answer them as best as possible. What's the one signing that'll make the biggest difference to this team? I'll start this one. It's easy to me. We all watched Leicester yesterday. Did you see what Wilfred Ndidi was doing to our midfield? I mean, anyone who watched that game, it was clear as day to see. And I've been saying, you see the shirt I'm wearing. Obviously, I'm very biased. I watched him a ton for internationals. I watched him a ton for Leicester. There was a game against Man City when you remember the company goal. Do you remember that company goal, the 1-0 that that pushed them to the title? That game that they played Leicester, Wilfred Ndidi that day. I remember here in the States we get Graham Lasso right on the call, a former Chelsea left back, and he literally says, I remember clear as day. He's like, if I didn't know any better, I would think Patrick Vieira was out there playing in midfield for Leicester City. Who is this kid that's playing? And that was 3 years ago now. and he's only gotten better and better and better. We desperately need an athletic, combative midfielder to first of all push Fred and McTominay out of the side. Secondly, just raise the quality level of our midfield. He would completely turn us around. I think that DM position is critical. I'm going to go to Nuruddin with this one. Do you where would you go if you had one signing to make? What signing do you think would make the biggest difference in our side?
Definitely I would have said Ndidi, but I'm just sick and tired of signing players with quite a bit of the iffy injury records. And then past last season and this season has picked up a couple of injuries, because I think that we need somebody who's robust. I understand that it could be. I'm not, because I don't support Leicester, but I've seen him missing chunks of last season and this season. And just going back to what you said about last season as well. Last season, before Corona, we were abysmal. After Corona, that's when we were banging in goals where we limped almost. We got tired, but we got there at the end after Corona, obviously, which is a very difficult time for all sports people, and especially top elite sports. But I thought after lockdown, when we came out of lockdown, we put a string of runs together. And the best game for me on Ollie's reign has been that Sevilla semi-final where the strikers didn't finish. We did everything. We dominated that game, and the strikers didn't finish. That's probably Ollie's best game. It was that semi-final against Sevilla. But anyway, I love Ndidi. Like I said, I always said Ndidi. Long time ago, I said Ndidi. But I'm just concerned about the injury, because I'm forever, just really getting angry and frustrated of players like Eribaye not being fit, of other players not being fit throughout, and just the fitness on players, So, if you said to me Ndidi and his injury record improves 100%, it's only one player, because he can do both people's jobs. He showed that. And I know what you're talking about, the game against Man City, where he absolutely kept winning the ball back, technique to take it past them, playing one-touch football, running, taking the ball and running with it, carrying the ball. He showed all of his repertoire. And actually, on last season's record, his record is up there as one of the best in the world. Forget even Europe, one of the best in the world. Obviously, the leagues in Europe, the top 5 leagues are the best in the world, but he's up there. His numbers are up there as good as anybody, good as anybody. So I will take him, but I'm just worried that he's the injury record. And
real quick, Nuruddin, let's just say, he has a Baye-esque injury record that he does. It's not that bad, obviously. Who would be your other choice? Real quick.
You know what? And I think also Leicester, obviously, because we got greedy owners, so that we call dividends FC for nothing, But that's what they like to do. They like to get dividends out of this club. And I think the cheaper option would be Mansouma, the kid who plays for Brighton. He passes the ball forward. I see him taking 1 or 2 touch to side pass, but the ball goes forward. Majority of the ball is going forward. The ball is not going. He's not going back. And obviously the way Brighton play encourages that, They signed Graham Potter for one reason from Swansea. They bought him because they had him. Yeah, Bazuma, definitely is him. They got, and all throughout the different age groups, even if they go down, they're believing in the philosophy of football. Even with the lack of quality they have, they play beautiful football. And to me, if there was any manager coming in Old Trafford, whether it's Ollie or anyone, one advice I would give Ollie is just give the fans beautiful football. The history of Manchester and the history, I live in Manchester. I don't know where you guys live. Obviously, I can imagine with the accent you're in the US. But in Manchester, it's well-known. Those of us who support United know the famous quote by, or the famous saying by Sir Matt Busby, who without him, we wouldn't be nowhere. We would be nowhere without Sir Matt Busby. And a lot of the young fan base don't know Sir Matt Busby is the reason why Man United are who Man United are. Fergie took on the mantle after Sir Matt Busby and took it on to the next level. But Sir Matt Busby, to me, is the greatest important figure in the history of Man United, is Sir Matt Busby. And he basically said, the men and women who are working in these hard, difficult, in terrible conditions in the 1940s and 30s who were playing, and in the 1950s and 60s, who are working class people, we needed to entertain them. They needed to come and see entertaining football. Win or lose or draw, they needed to see entertainment. And the whole reason of the Busby Boys is about entertaining football. And the Manchester United way, Manchester United DNA is entertaining football. That's what, that's why we have the biggest fan base around the world, because we played attacking, entertaining football. And that to me is missing. So I would go and get players, and I agree what Stu said before, is getting players who hate losing. And to me, a CDM that can do the job that of Fred and McTominay, because I don't think either of them are a CDM. I think they're both being converted into. I mean, I don't like, and I know you don't like the talk CDM and all of these kind of like FIFA talk, but a holding guy, somebody to hold that. You know, we used to have Carrick, we would have Scholes at times, we had Roy Keane. Roy Keane was a box-to-box player, but a good midfielder that can pass the ball forward and then also work hard to win the ball back. That's what we're lacking.
Yeah, no, great points. I want to point out a comment here really quick before I move on to Stu and Sims with their answer. Where did that comment just go? Just disappeared on me. Here we go. Yes, this channel has been a sanctuary from the other fan channels. Reactionary BS is getting old. Please don't forget that. Being Ollie out after losing to Leicester's plain stupidity. First of all, thank you, Jarvis, for that comment. We appreciate that you watch this channel. You know, you support us. Keep supporting us. You know what I'm saying? What our goal here to do with this channel is to not be, one side or the other. If you bring your opinions like these guys are bringing it today with actual logical reasoning, you are free to say whatever you want. That's how this channel runs. That's how this channel operates. We're going to give you the real opinions and give you facts behind it. That's how we've always been, and that's how we're going to continue to be as long as, Ben and me and the rest of the gang are on this channel. You know what I'm saying? Real quick, Stu, who would your choice be if you had one signing to make? Where would you go?
Yeah, you see, I'll go CDM as well. I was asked this, if you remember, about 4 or 5 shows ago, and I said Kimmich. For obvious reasons, but we'll never get Kimmich. So for me, Brozovic out of Inter Milan, his passing is, well, I think it's up there about 90%, something like that, 88%. He scores goals. He's very creative. He's a good tackler. Brozovic for me. I just like him. He would suit our style of play.
Good player, very good player, and he would fit in. Like I think Ollie wants to play a 4-2-3-1 going forward. I think he can. They're one of those. He's just better than Fred and McTominay. Let's just call it what it is. Completely agree with Miles better. So, Sems, where would you go with that one?
Does anyone not think Declan Rice could do a job for us?
Oh no,
a really good job.
Yeah, no, I think so. I agree. I agree with that one. I agree.
Neradine, he's not having it. He's not having it.
Yeah, you're right, Sems, because Declan Rice is very versatile. He can play in 3 positions. But he's good in 3 positions, isn't he? Do you know what I mean? He maybe doesn't excel.
Yeah. I think a club like United could take him to the next level potentially. I think he's got some real deep qualities in him. He's Premiership ready. He's young. As you say, he's versatile. He's athletic. He's strong. He can drive the ball. He can pass. He's tenacious. I'm saying this as somebody who was not rating him before, so I've started to watch him quite closely, and in my opinion, I've been proved wrong. And I think he could do a real good job for us. And I think Manchester United, we've always had a history of getting good young English players. We've always had a core of good English players, and I think he could do a fantastic job for us. So I probably would look at somebody like Declan Rice.
Great shout, bro. I would have no qualms with Declan. I feel like there's a weird, like, a group of Manchester United fans who think Declan Rice isn't good, and I think he's a really good player. I think he's very. Nerdy, what are you thinking? I see you shaking your head.
I think that it's a lot of the hype. Obviously, young Irish or English. You can choose Irish or English. A young player. I think there's a leadership quality to him. I would say that when I watch West Ham, now that I've been paying attention a lot since Jay Links has gone there, I've been paying attention a bit more. So he's a good player. But I agree with Stu. I don't think he's a good all-rounder, but does he excel in one? Does he excel in one position? and I don't know that. And there's a lot of like you have to understand the media in the UK. There's a lot of hype.
Yeah, I hear that.
No, but he's nerding.
I don't want to fall for the hype, bro. I don't want to.
But hype aside, when you watch him, he's a brilliant footballer. He really is.
You know what? The thing that he lacks and what I'm looking for, and that's why maybe I'm being harsh. I need somebody to be good on the ball. I know indeed he's good on the ball a bit, but he's good on the ball, but that's not his biggest thing. He's indeed his main strength are tracking back. He's got this incredible radar where he knows where the ball is, so interception and tackling and the energy. But on the ball, he lacks sometimes a bit of quality. But I think with good coaches, you could learn that. You could learn how to pass. But with Declan Rice, I think he'll give you all the same aggression, the same. He's got the leadership quality, obviously. But on the ball, can he pass that ball?
He can. No, he can. He can.
Like this. Remember Matic at Chelsea when he was in his prime. Remember prime before he came to us and was just kind of whatever. You know what I'm saying? Declan reminds me of Matic at Chelsea when he was at his pomp. And I think Matic at his best was an excellent player. Obviously, we've seen him kind of at the back end of his career. I think Declan has the passing range. I think he's athletic enough. He can read. He's a leader. He's 22 and he's the captain of that big club. You got to remember that. He's been there and he's getting England call-ups. I think he's good. Let's move on because we're gonna be stuck here forever. All right, man. 38 minutes
on the ball. He lacks a bit of quality, and I watched that for England, and I noticed that for England more than anything else. I know when he plays for England.
I'll just say one quick thing on that just before we move on. And you're all right, but the problem we've got is he comes with a hefty price tag.
Yeah, true.
And that is a big issue for us. And unfortunately, Ndidi will come with an extra price tag. And there are sometimes, and I hate shopping abroad. I don't like shopping abroad, but sometimes if you want to balance your squad out from a financial perspective, sometimes that's all I would say. But
no, it makes sense.
This is an interesting comment from Jacob that I disagree with. And I'm going to tell you. So the comment here says you can't judge Ollie too harshly when he's really only added Maguire, AWB, and Bruno to the starting 11 so far. Needs more. If you really look at what Ollie has done in his tenure, there's much more than that. Let's go from there.
Contracts left, right, and center.
Contracts. He gave Matic a contract. He gave Juan Mata a contract. He gave Anthony Martial a contract. He signed Tellez, who's we thought was going to replace Shaw. No chance that's happening. Who else did he give a contract to? I'm forgetting some names. I'm forgetting tons.
Everybody.
Phil Jones. I disagree with that. When I think Ollie's had enough time to say this is his squad. If you look at that starting 11, a lot of those players in that starting 11, he's either signed or he's given a contract to. So I think it's a bit of a what's the word I'm looking for? I think you're giving Ollie a little too much.
That's a bit of a cop out for him. That's a
bit of a, and that's not saying Ollie's the worst man. I'm just saying when people say he hasn't made his signings, I think he's made a lot more. I think people are giving him a little bit of an excuse there.
The only thing that I would say to that is that sometimes I know the Glazeronomics, because that's what we call it, Glazeronomics. Woodward and Glazeronomics is tie people down to contracts because you're going to have to spend money. If you get rid of players, you're going to have to spend money to buy other players, then put them on a contract. So that what they like to do is keep the players that are there, just give them bigger wages because the players are already there, other than acquiring to buy better players. That's why Phil Jones survived for 10 years. How for Man United? Less than 300, 100%.
Just look at that. 200. Look at that wage bill, man. I looked at the wage bill, the wage bill, and the wage structure today, and it's depressing.
Second highest in world football.
It's laughable. It's laughable. Stuart O'Hara, I know you are in the comments. You asked a great question on Twitter, and I'm going to ask it right here to the guys. Let's try and be quicker, guys, because man, these are great discussions, great topics. I want to get to as many questions as possible. Everyone, don't stop dropping questions, man. This is I love this Q&A show, man. It's amazing. Have a great conversation with some great Manchester United fans. What a better way to spend, an evening. I don't know what else I'd rather do. Do you feel this? Stuart O'Hara asked, do you feel the tide of support starting to turn against Solskjaer? Yeah. Do you think he has possibly reached his ceiling? Who did I go to? I'm gonna start with Stu on this one. So I'm gonna ask it against Stu. Do you feel the tide of support starting to turn against Ollie, and also do you think that he's reached his ceiling as a manager?
Yeah, well, the tide has definitely turned. There's no two ways about it. I think the fan base is split pretty much right down the middle, with people wanting a change in the manager, and people not wanting a change in the manager. As to whether he's reached his ceiling or not, that's a really difficult question to answer. Because if he does win the Europa League and he does finish second, and you know my viewpoint on this, top or nothing, then no, he won't have reached his ceiling. What he's lacking, and I'll be very, very quick here, and I'll be very, very, very brief here. He's lacking a old school coach. He needs a coach of real experience alongside him, and that would enable him, as well as the junior coaches, because they are junior coaches, Carrick and McKenna, because I don't think Phelan's involved in that much anymore, would enable the junior coaches to learn and grow. And Ollie needs to learn, grow, and evolve. And so I think that's what he's lacking. So ceiling, probably not. No, I think there's a lot more to come from him, because at the end of the day, we're still learning today. All of us are still learning at what we're doing in our roles. I just think, I mean, we'll talk about it later. I know we will, but that's my viewpoint anyway.
No, fair enough. Sams, what do you think about that? Again, do you feel the tide of support starting to turn against Ollie, and do you think he's reached his ceiling?
So yes, the tide is turning. I've got a good friend of mine who we've been going backwards and forwards ever since Ollie's come in. He's a big Ollie fan. And the other day he just messaged me and was like, "Oh my gosh, I know you're gonna be laughing at me, and I told you so, but I see what you mean now." And you know, I've never been Ollie's biggest fan, and the reason why I believe that he has reached his ceiling is because, you know, Stu mentioned it there, that, you know, learning. We don't need a manager that is learning on the job. We need a manager that is ready now and has experience to take us to the next level. And that's, for me, that's where Ollie just is lacking, in the fact that he has nothing behind him to say that he is going to be able to take us to the next level. So if you're in his position, what do you do then? You give him a chance. And that's what we've done. We've given him a chance. We've given him 2.5 years, whatever it is. And as what Naradine was saying, is we are not seeing the progression with the football. Our football is boring. It's not entertaining. And not only that, is we don't do the basic things right. And for me, he's reached his ceiling. Whether he wins the Europa League or not, whether he finishes second or not, Manchester United need to get back to winning titles. As what Stu said, coming second is not good enough. We need to get back to winning titles. And would any other team in the top 10 take Ole Gunnar Solskjaer as their manager? The answer to that is plain and simple, no. So why do we believe that this manager, who nobody else would take, is going to get us to where Manchester City are now, to where Liverpool were the last few years? Because that's where we need to get to. That is and we were once that team where everybody looked at us and said, this is where we need to get to. Now that's where we need to get to. And unfortunately, as much as we all want the fairy tale behind it, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer he's just not that guy.
Fair enough. Strong words, but very well articulated. Very well.
That was a well-reasoned argument. Yeah, I did.
Very well. Yeah. Nuruddin, what do you say about that? The question again is the tide turning against Ollie, and then do you think he's hit his ceiling?
Yeah, I mean, I was well known. You know, some of the fan channels that I'm on, a lot of people are Ollie out. A lot of people were Ollie out from early onwards, and I was one of the people that was defending him. But it's becoming extremely difficult to defend Ollie and Ollie's actions at the moment. I know that I always said he's learning on a job. I always acknowledge that he's learning on a job, and I always said I wish they could help him more, like the three bankers who are in charge of Man United. Even with this so-called new structure, if you looked at it closely, the football director can't sack or hire any coaches or the manager. He can't take, get rid of a player or bring in a new player. He can't do that. So all of it is just smoke and mirrors. It's all cover. All of these guys, John Murter and Darren Fletcher, are just there as smoke screens. But I 100% agree with Stu. He said one experienced coach. I think he needs two. He needs a very experienced coach who's been around the block and who's been successful and who knows his stuff. And he needs a modern style coach, young coach, enthusiastic coach with a lot of energy, who knows maybe a bit or two about the European games. Because the mistakes that Ollie's made this season, I'm still haunted by not taking Fred off in that PSG game. You know what I mean? All the teams is PSG. It's PSG of all the teams. It's PSG who are FC roll around. That's what we call them. Every FC roll around. They roll around. Honestly, you look at them and they're down already. And they targeted him. They absolutely targeted Fred. And he did not have the own to think, you know what? Even if we can get a draw here, I'll take the draw. I don't have to win this game fully. And that's where an experienced coaches come in. They come in and the young coach who knows what this is about comes in and the emotion is not there. I think Ollie is a fan like us. And sometimes I think when you're too emotionally involved, you can just be too emotional. You need the other people to give you a different perspective. And what is Carrick's record? Carrick was under Jose, and now we're playing like Jose football. Because I'm sorry to say, but since the 6-1 we got beat by Tottenham, we're playing very pragmatic. We're not going for teams. We are playing very coward football. And that's not Man United. Man United have always been about a club, about entertainment. Man United have always been, there's all the quotes are there on the internet, people, about how Man United are the entertainers. And I don't know, like I said, Stu, I agree with some Stu said, and I agree what Sam said as well, that, nobody individual in the world, you don't think, anybody of any age has ever reached their ceiling, because there's always things to learn and grow. But I agree with Sam when he says that would the top 10 teams take Ole Gunnar Solskjaer? No, they won't. But obviously we take him because of what Ollie did and how Ollie's the legend he is. And we're all dreaming, because I tell people, Manchester United is, when we beat Paris, I said my quote on Facebook was, the most romantic club in the world went to the city of love and made love. That's Paris, when we did what we did in Paris, right? That's right? And I'll cut this short, but because of the romanticism, because of that history, all of us, there's not one, even though the ones who say they want Ollie out, they all want him to succeed, and him winning the league would be the most ultimate. That would be the ultimate, right?
Yeah. Thank you. I see a comment here. Jarvis says, "OMG, let's move on. This debate is getting old because this is not a debate; it's just reactionary." Jarvis, to that comment, I feel like everyone who just answered this question answered it articulately, made their points. It wasn't reactionary, and they gave their points and had reasons behind everything they just said. That's what we do on this channel. We got a question asked from a fan. We answered that question. That's all we're doing here. This is not a Ollie out, get out of here type of conversation. This is a conversation between Manchester United fans from a question that we got from Manchester. Jarvis, drop a question in here for us. You know what I'm saying? We will answer your question articulately as easily as possible, as best as we can. That's what we do here.
This is the thing about football is about opinions. Yeah. It is about opinions, and I've got my opinion on Martial, and I've been on my own channel and have people ripping into him, and I have to listen, because at the end of the day, people have different opinions about different things. Now, if I have an opinion that I don't believe Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is the man, that's my opinion. Now, there's a few people that say they didn't agree. That's fine. That's cool. And then you just keep it like that. But you can't then turn it around and just be like, it's reactionary because I don't share your opinion. That's not right. We are entitled to our opinion, whether you like it or not. That's just the way it is. That's football.
That's how it is.
And also, I would say to Jarvis, you have your opinion to also say it. And that's the great thing about this channel. Like, you can say that you disagree and you think this is reactionary, even though in all our answers, we said this has been coming. This is a combination. It's not on one result. It's never on one result, right? Getting knocked out there, that could happen with any great genius manager. That happened under Fergie. We could have done the treble that year. We got beat by Bournemouth, didn't we? We could have done the treble again in 2008. We got knocked out. So it can happen. We can lose games, but it's about what is there to see. What is Ollie doing? Where is the plan? Where is the attractive football? 2.5 years He's been here. Where is it? We can't see it. And I'm sorry to say, that's not being reactionary. That's just going off the evidence and the facts.
Thank you. Facts. And I'm gonna quickly answer Fred's question. Do I think the tide is of support starting to turn? I would say no. I think it's pretty much been it varies week by week. I think there's people who are staunchly on one side and they've made that point. There's people who are staunchly on the other side who make that point. And there's people who who are more in the. I think it's kind of it depends on the week. We beat Man City a few weeks ago. If you look at Twitter, there's probably tons of people who are saying, keep him in the job. It just varies. And to the point of, has he reached his ceiling? To the point of saying, has he reached his ceiling? I think so. I really do. Yesterday, I mean, I think all of us on this stream want Ollie to succeed. I don't think anyone wants Ollie to I hope we lose so Ollie can get out of the job. I don't think that's how any of us are thinking. You know what I'm saying? But at that same time, do I think he's hit his ceiling? Do I think he can ever compete with Pep? Probably not. Do I ever think he can compete with Klopp? Do I think he can compete with Ancelotti if he got to a higher club or Tuchel now that he's at Chelsea? I don't think so. So I do think he's hit his ceiling. Let's move on to the next question. Where was I? There were so many good questions up here.
While you look, I'll just say, bro, I'll say, I think that if Ollie had the help and the hand and he had the coaches and the club, we had a better structure, I think Ollie could have been. Because it's all about the structure. You look at Barcelona, Pep Guardiola, he was a great coach, talented coach, but the structure was there. Everything was there to help him. And kick out the players that he wanted and keep the players that he wanted. He can get rid of the jokers that he wanted and keep and bring about and show his talent. For you to thrive in any industry or any works of life we're in, you know where you had the best jobs is where you are, where people looked at your strength and used your strength for you to thrive.
Yeah, 100%. Jacob says, are Mali rivals to Nigeria, Temi? I would say no. That's a funny question. Real funny question.
These two teams. But saying that, the greatest ever African team was Cameroon, and the second greatest ever African team was '94 Nigeria.
Oh yeah, '94 Nigeria, gold medal team. Oh, wonderful.
I knew. Did you ever see him live?
I never saw him live, unfortunately. I have not watched. I'll let you guys know this right now. I have never been to England. Well, I've been to England multiple times. I've never watched a football match live. Outside of very small things. I know it's a sad life. It's a sad life I lead.
I live 10 minutes from the ground. I live 15 minutes from the ground. I'll get you a bicycle. Wow. We will cycle there together. You've got a place to stay.
Wow. Thank you. So listen, my goal is to try and get to Manchester next season. My goal is to be in that stadium with all of the guys I've met on football Twitter, take pictures, have a great time, and enjoy y'all's company, man. I can't wait to get to Old Trafford, man. It's like the lifelong dream, man.
And I just want to interject this quickly as well, is because as what Nuruddin said and Temi you said is we all want Manchester United to win. I had when the whole 21 in 21 was going around, and I was just thinking to myself, Manchester United Twitter, we are going to shut down the place if we won the league this season, and that's all I wanted to happen. Do you know what I'm saying? I'm behind the manager. I'm behind Manchester United. We want the best for us. Do you know what I'm saying? So, yeah, I just wanted to say that. I got sucked in, man.
Of course. Oh, who didn't, man? When we hit that top, oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Like,
I never got sucked in, bro.
I got sucked in. I ain't gonna lie to nobody.
I did, man. For a little bit, I just had that feeling. But this is another good question from Eugene Abdiel, aka at Gino MUFC. We're almost at the end of the season. In the beginning, it was we only needed a right winger and a DM after last season's heroics. Now it looks like we need a center forward, a center back, a DM, a right winger. When will the buck stop with Ollie? I think that's an interesting question. We'll make this one quick because we've been on the Ollie topic for a while. I think there is I'll start with this one. I think that it is a balancing act. Yes, the board doesn't back our managers properly, right? But at the same time, I think Ollie has to kind of fight for himself. You know what I'm saying? I think the reason they like him the board loves him so much is because he's pretty mild-mannered. You know what I'm saying? He's not going to start a ruckus. But if I was Ollie, I would go down swinging. There's no way I'm going to get fired from this job and everyone doesn't know that I wanted this player, I wanted that player. Just the same way Jose did, but maybe a little bit nicer, not throwing players under the bus. but saying, hey, we need to improve in the middle of the park. There's nothing wrong with saying that. I don't think you're necessarily calling out players. I don't think you're necessarily putting anybody under the bus by saying that. But I think because he's so mild-mannered, it could come back to backfire him. So to answer that question, that's how I would go. Stu, what do you think about that?
I think it's a really difficult one because you can always improve a team, and you should always improve a winning team. Fergie was renowned for it. Would win the championship and go out and spend a few million on getting two players in. So we should always be improving. We've just got a tad of mediocre in our squad. So it's going to take whoever it is. And I've got I don't want to go. I'm not going to go on the Ollie thing because I've got a viewpoint on that anyway.
Of course.
But whoever it is going to need another 2 or 3 transfer windows to get the balance of the squad right, because right now we're just not balanced enough. And so it's a really difficult question. I like what you said, Temi, and I'm sure the lads all each have their own viewpoints, but it's such a difficult question to answer because you would take 5 or 6 out of our squad and dip them immediately and replace them with a variety of different players. So that's my take on it.
Yeah. Sams, what do you think about that?
I think, look, again, my views on Ollie has been made clear, but I do agree, as what Mr. Structure has said earlier, that we know that there's a bigger agenda. We know that there is a bigger problem. And that was one of the things that I always thought when Ollie came into this job, that if a seasoned manager like Jose Mourinho couldn't get it right under this structure, what chance did he really have? So I do believe that we need to improve the squad. We need to improve in so many areas now, because we need 2 new centre backs. We need defensive midfielders. We need a right-sided. We do need a striker. So yes, I don't necessarily think that it is all Ollie. I know that there is a bigger problem here, and that the next manager who comes in, that's why I wanted Poch before, because Poch has shown that he could probably manage under this type of structure and get the best out of what he could get the best out of. Not to say that that's the right way. I'm not saying that, but I know that there's a bigger problem. So yeah.
No, very fair points. Nuruddin, what do you think about that?
Yeah. In terms of, I'm known as Mr. Structure because I'm always banging on about the structure, because I genuinely don't feel as though, unless we get a genius manager, we're never going to win the league or the Champions League under this, with the 3 bankers in charge of Man United: Woodward, Matt Judge, and I forgot the other guy. I forgot the other one's name, but the 3 bankers everybody knows. Richard Arnold. And for me, I see it as that they never backed the manager. I don't even think that he bought Donny van der Beek. I think he wanted Grealish, and you could see the way he's using Donny van der Beek and the way that he's always tried to show. I don't really get too tough about what he says about players, and I understand that he's very clever because as a player he knows that. I mean, I remember he was saying Alexis Sanchez is a brilliant player, Lukaku's a brilliant player, and 2 weeks later they were gone.
They're gone.
He can't come out and slate players, because if we're looking to get any money for these players and try to move these players on, you don't come out and say that. And yesterday, to be fair to him, when after the game, he said, under the circumstances, under the games that we've played, every 3 days we've been playing, these players have given me everything. That's because a player, he's always going to back the players. He's always going to put the pressure onto himself, which I applaud. But in the back, behind closed doors, I hope that he's really fighting. I hope that he's really fighting to try to improve. Like I said, I'm never Ollie down. Ollie's done some great things at this club, because Sanchez and Lukaku needed to be moved on. They weren't just for Man United. They didn't fit the Man United way. They just were not. They couldn't take the pressure. And other players. The only player that I was gutted about that didn't need to be moved on was Herrera, because Herrera in this team now would have been. But as soon as they made that decision to buy Fred, then that decision was made to move Herrera on. But I just look at it and think we are a mess in terms of the structure of our club. And without that improving, you need that to give you a chance. Even with a good structure, that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to win, but it gives you a great chance. And we don't have that. And I always think sometimes even so, you're saying the fan base is split. The fans who are Ollie in, when the next manager comes in, when he loses a couple of games, they'll be all of it out because they will emotionally still be tied to Ollie saying, why do we get rid of Ollie? So that's the way it is. And Ollie being the way he is, and the way that the Glazers and Woodward found him is to manipulate the fan base because we emotionally feel for him, is to manipulate us. So Ollie was the worst guy to get. If another manager now, all of us would have been there. Get him out, get him out, get him out, take him out. But we're not all saying that because some of us, you know, that's the greatest night of my footballing life. That's the greatest night. That seconds goal, I ran bare feet. I'm talking about roads, like streets, screaming. And I could hear people coming out of their houses screaming like me. You know what I mean? People were screaming.
I was there, Nuruddin. I was there.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was.
To be there, I don't want to be alive after that. I might as well. I heard somebody dropped from one of the stands and dropped to the next seating and was alive. Like that's how much
you couldn't write it. You couldn't. It's hard to explain the emotions and the feelings. I can't do it now. I get goosebumps when I talk about it. It was just, it was amazing. Yeah,
it was amazing. Bro, I get goosebumps too. How old were you when that happened?
Oh, crikey. So 99, I would have been 29.
I was 18. 18.
Yeah, 29. Yeah. Obviously, I look young, I know, you know, but no, I'd have been, I'd have been 29.
I was 16 at the time. Yeah. 16.
16.
I mean, I've stood, I won't bore you, but I've stood in the COP in 88, a United fan in the COP in 88. And we drew 3 apiece. You'll probably remember the game. We went 1-0 up. Robbo got an early goal. And I was just about to jump up and I realised where I was. And if you'd been in the COP in 1988, it was all stands and you had these little kind of like metal areas where you could lean against. And when Gordon Strachan scored the winner at the COP end to make it 3 apiece, and he walked over to the COP and he went like that, he went like that. Fucking hell, you've never experienced a surge like it. And if the whole COP they would have ripped Strachan to pieces. But yeah, I've got loads of stories.
Oh man,
I've been supporting United for years, so
that's amazing. Yeah, I was.
Can I ask a question to everybody? Just something I've been thinking of is, with us all knowing that the board is a problem and the structure and everything is a problem and the managers are up against it coming in, do us as fans need to lower our expectations to the current structure? Do we need to do that? Or are we expecting too much? Do you know what I mean?
No, to answer
go on, Timmy.
No, I was gonna say no. I think so. When we talk, like, just to the point of the board, when we talk about the Glazers, right? We always say, "Oh, terrible owners." You know, they don't back us. You know, they don't care. If they look, they don't know anything about football or soccer, as we call it here in the States, right? I think the biggest mistake that they have made is not necessarily the spend that they, you know, because we've spent tons of money. I think the biggest issue is the people they've trusted, you know. And if they ever did the slightest research on, you know, how are we spending our money? I feel like they don't do that. I feel like the Glazers genuinely don't look at and say, how is our money being spent? Because they're making so much money on the back end. They don't really look at the investment they've made and say, wait, we're losing, we're spending all this money on these players and we haven't won a title. And God knows if they really sat down and looked at Ed Woodward, you know, and said, okay, if we separate you and put you as the business leader, actually get a director of football who knows how to spend my money wisely, we'd be in a completely different spot. So I'm not lowering my expectations for anything. You know what I'm saying? I won't do it.
The issue you've got is if we continue in this rotational cycle of changing managers every 3 years, just hypothetically, because this is what we've been doing, you get to a stage where if Ollie was to be sacked in the summer, you're going to burn through 18 million quid immediately with his severance package and the coach's severance package. And then you've got a new manager to come on board. So you've got his salary, you've got the new set of coaches to come on board. You've then got new players that he's going to want to come on board. You've got a new way of playing. And then the board doesn't back him. and then we go through this again every 3 years. And so sometimes you've got to nail your mast somewhere. You've got to say, we've got to support somebody, whoever it is. We've got to support somebody. And we've got to, like Nuruddin said, we've got to take the pain potentially for 5 years, and see where we are then. It's not a popular decision. I will get absolutely hammered on Twitter for it. But sometimes you've got to look at maybe the bigger picture.
Yeah.
That's how I would answer that.
Yeah, Kimby says standards should always be high. It's our expectations that should change based on the team and structure we have. Fair point. Nuruddin, what do you think about that?
I can make one correction to what you said. They've not invested. They've never spent a penny on Man United. They've actually just put their billionaire industry, their business.
Right.
They've never put a penny on their money in Man United. They actually take money out of Man United.
Yeah.
Man United it's a cash cow for them. But to me, Woodward might as well be Woodward Glazer, because he's the guy, if you know anything about the takeover 15 years ago, who bullied everybody else and all the other shareholders to sell to them. So that's why he's the guy they trusted. And he bought in his two friends from university. They're all investment bankers and accountants from Bristol University. He bought them in, and they run Man United. So no other top club in Europe or the world are run by three bankers. People who know nothing about football. And I'll get that to sink in again. People who have know nothing about football make the biggest decisions at this football club. And the Glazers, because they don't know. I mean, Patrice Evra let it slip on Sky after, I think it might have been later after the 6-1, and he said he met the Glazers and they're actually nice people. He said they're actually nice people, and they want to care, they want to know, but they don't know. People have been lying to them and they don't understand what's going on. But for me, you can't own a club for 15 years. To me, you're a bad businessman, because the thing about it is that our club, in the last financial, when he came out, Woodward, to tell us about where the finances are of the club, he said, guess what was a success? We are #1 on TikTok. That's what he said. So traffic, Man United, no word of a lie, a friend of a friend, no word of a lie, he knows a football agent, and he said in the agent industry is well known, Manchester United Man United leak stories to the press, to the cronies in the press, to say we're interested in this player, so that we can get social media traction. So the idea that we link with all these players is all this in social media is the only way we're ever going to put a pressure on. And my match reaction from yesterday, I called out the fan channels. I called out the Twitter, Instagram. I called them all out. And I said, if we don't unite to put pressure on the Glazers, people go, but Glazers are never going to sell. It's like saying Martin Luther King, you know, what's the point of matching? Because civil rights, you're never going to get any civil rights. Or are you going to say about the women when they wanted to get the women's vote? You know what I mean? If you don't try, how do you know? Social media is a powerful tool now. And you know certain organizations can be put under pressure and they have to make changes. And that's the big thing. I want to unite the whole fan base. I'm going to come up with a hashtag, and I hope all of you guys will be supporting it. I want the Glazers either to sell Man United or to change the people they have in charge right now. That's the only way this club is going to get any success. We're not asking too much. Just bring Edward. Just get rid of Woodward and bring Edward from Van der Sar from Ajax to run stuff. We'll be happy, because he's a footballing person. He went to university to get degrees to understand the financial side of it, but he knows everything about football.
No, these are all great points. All amazing points, man. I hope I didn't miss too many questions. We'll do some real quick questions on some of the things here that we can say yes or no. I saw one question about a Pablo contract. Q&A, should Pablo get a new contract? Yes. I'm not even gonna waste time with this. I do. Yes. I don't know where anyone else. Stu, what do you think? Yes or no? Real quick.
Yes.
Okay, Sams, what do you say? I know what you're gonna say. Yeah, Nuruddin. I think you. I agree.
You know what? Yeah, I'm a bit oohing, because I'm like, maybe that time is done. But just recently we realized that we needed him. I think his time has come to an end because we're not achieving what he wants to achieve.
Yeah.
All fair points. All fair points. I hope I didn't miss too many questions, man. We had some great conversation, great dialogue in here. Let me see if I missed any questions. If anyone wants to drop one more question, and we'll answer it, but we're already well over time. Man, what a show. What a conversation we had tonight. Amazing stuff.
There's one just come in, right, from Denzel Boat, who should replace Ollie. Now, isn't that the $64 million question? because Semps mentioned it earlier that you've had Jose Mourinho, you've had Van Gaal, quality managers in their time who've been able to be backed. So who would you have? Because right now I'm kind of struggling.
I would have Nagelsmann, but you have to have a structure to help him because he's a young manager. But I love the way he gets really, really a lot from players that are not talented. And
Timo Werner.
Players. You know what? We have players who are quite talented. Obviously we know that we've got about 5 or 6 who are regularly in our team who are not good enough for Man United standards. But Nagelsmann, with a football structure built around him and a help, I think he would coach, because what we're looking for is a coach. And I take it back to what Sam said about Pochettino. Pochettino was a coach, but Pochettino, there's hardly any pressure on him at Tottenham. And Man United, as soon as you walk in and you're the manager of that club,
and that's the key. That's the key, isn't it?
That's a great point. That's the key.
It's the pressure side.
Yeah, no, that's
and we've seen Mourinho wilt under pressure. We've seen Van Gaal wilt under pressure.
Yeah, these are fair points.
So I think it's a great question, difficult to answer.
Yeah, to the point on Ollie, staying and I think a lot of the Ollie in. I hate the Ollie in, the Ollie. I just hate those terms more than anything. Those two terms just piss me off. You can talk about saying maybe we need a better manager, or I want to stick with Ollie because of. We have a super chat here. Okay, real quick from Jarvis. We need a center back, CDM, right winger.
My man Jarvis.
I appreciate the super chat. If you only got 2 signings this summer, who would you choose? We'll answer that really quickly. I would say Sancho, or not Sancho, excuse me. I would say Ndidi, and then I would get another center back, an experienced center back, Sergio Ramos or Koulibaly. I would want an experienced center back. Someone who can lead that back line. I'm not too enamored with this. Oh, we need a pacey center back. No, we just need a better center back, a quality center back who can actually help us lead the line. Real quick, Stu, where would you go? 2 signings, real quick.
I would go for a centre back, and I would go for Connor Cody. And there's a reason for that, because I just think he's solid, and we need solidity right now. So Cody for me, and I quite like Rafinha from Leeds.
Okay.
I'd stay in the Premier League for those reasons.
Okay.
Those are my 2.
Nerdine, where will you go? Real quick. Two.
I think we need an organizer at the back. We need a talker. I understand Connor Cody, but I think for us to play in the Champions League, I think we could get him for 50 million. I think it would be Koulibaly, because he's the captain. He's a leader. We need and Connor Cody is a decent shout, but I think Koulibaly is a better quality centre half and a much of a more of an organizer and a real captain. And I think CDM. Would I get Rafinha? Rafinha, I looked at the other day, and you know what? I couldn't argue against that. But if there was, because you know what? CDM maybe for another year if he plays it right. If Pogba plays in midfield as he plays Donny as 2-8, you know what I mean, and plays with one guy, then maybe. Right. But I do think we need a right winger, because we don't create enough chances for our strikers, and Rafinha would, or somebody like him would.
Yeah.
What has Koulibaly actually done? Brother. Let me tell you something about that man, Koulibaly. He is different gravy. If you've watched him in the Champions League at any point, I've seen him go up against, not literally go up against Van Dijk, but when Napoli played Liverpool, they played Liverpool like 3 or 4 times in the past few seasons in the Champions League. And every single time I looked at him, I said, he played better than Van Dijk this game. Every single time. But Sems, where would you go with that question?
Yeah, I think the spine is where we need, and I totally agree that we need creativity. But I think that we've got the players in the team with the better structure and the better coaching. I think we've got players in the team that are good enough to create chances and play a better brand of football. But for me, our problems lie in centre back and defensive midfielder, and so I would address those 2 areas. I think you get a quality centre back next to Maguire. My personal view wouldn't be Maguire, but I think you get a quality centre back next to him, and he will upgrade him. He will upgrade him. whether that be Koulibaly or Koundé or Kimpembe, whoever it will be, you get a quality, experienced centre back in, because that's what we're lacking in this team is experience. And we've already spoken about the central midfielders earlier on today. So there's the two areas that I would address.
100%. Hama, I know you in the comments. I'm gonna make sure to get your question in for the next show. We're already coming up on an hour and 20 minutes. I don't want to hold these guys too long. It's late in the UK. You feel me? I don't want to keep these guys too much longer. But what a show, man! What an amazing show. Usually we usually Nerdine, you're new. We usually do 30 minutes of a preview. You know what I'm saying? We do 30 minutes of a preview of the next game coming up, and then we do 30 minutes of Q&A. We've gotten through an hour and 20 minutes of just questions from the fans. What an amazing show, man! What an amazing show. I appreciate every single Stu, Sams, Nuruddin. I appreciate y'all so much. Make sure to follow these guys on Twitter. You know what I'm saying? Make sure to follow Views TV official. Make sure to follow United Real Therapy. All great channels on YouTube. Make sure to follow Stu. Great Manchester United fan. Make sure to follow my humble self at Temi Talks United. You know what I'm saying? And follow the movement that is all for United, guys. Thank you so much for coming on the show. I see the comments coming in. Brilliant show. We appreciate you guys so much for sticking with us this long. What a show. Make sure to rewatch it. Tell your friends. Tell everyone about the show. Make sure to like this, retweet this on Twitter and YouTube, whatever platform you're watching from, and make sure to stick with us and follow the movement. I am your humble host, Temi, and I will talk to you guys all very, very shortly. Deuces.